In the stillness of dawn, beneath a sky brushed with hues of soft pink and gentle lavender, the ancient landscapes of Greece begin to awaken. The sacred mountains rise, looming majestically against the horizon, their slopes clothed in a verdant symphony of olive trees and fragrant herbs. Each morning brings a whisper of history nestled within the folds of this serene terrain, where the echoes of ages past echo softly through time, an invitation to ponder the mysteries that once shaped the lives of those who tread upon this land. As the sun gently ascends into the heavens, golden rays spill softly across sacred sites, illuminating the remnants of temples that once thrummed with the vibrant pulse of humanity. Here, among the stone columns of Delphi and Dodona, the great oracles held sway, a confluence of divinity and human aspiration. In these storied places, individuals would journey from across the ancient Greek world, drawn by the promise of wisdom, guidance, and perhaps the fleeting glimpse of the future. The oracles were not mere curiosities. They were the bedrock upon which critical decisions were made, shaping the fates of both individuals and whole city-states. Nestled amid rugged cliffs, Delphi, considered the spiritual heart of ancient Greece, served as the home of the most renowned oracle, the Pythia. Gazing into the depths of the sacred tripod, she would utter enigmatic prophecies that would ripple through society, casting a long shadow over the actions of kings and citizens alike. The very air pulsated with the reverberations of her words, stirring both hopeful aspiration and trepidation among those who sought her counsel. It is said that she entered a trance-like state, infused with the intoxicating vapors wafting from the chasms below, bridging the mortal realm with divine insight. In the serene grove of Dodona, where the rustling leaves of the sacred oak entwined with the whispers of the winds, another oracle revealed the will of Zeus himself. Here, oracles were revealed through the interpretation of the sounds in nature, the crackling of the leaves and the murmurs of the water, each sound steeped in sacred meaning. The significance of these oracles stretched far beyond the spoken word. They ensconced a myriad of practices that interwove the daily lives of the Greeks with the spiritual and the profound. Thus, they became participants in an elaborate tapestry of belief, creating a vibrant community defined by the ethereal interplay of fate and choice. The cultural importance of these sacred oracles cannot be overstated, as they represented a synthesis of mythology, philosophy, and the very fabric of ancient Greek society. Emblems of authority and wisdom, the oracles served as arbiters of truth in a world replete with uncertainty. They represented a bridge between the seen and unseen, inviting individuals to confront their deepest fears, seeking clarity amidst a tumultuous existence. The ancient Greeks, steeped in myth and legend, found solace in the notion that their lives had purpose and guidance, a cosmic order governed by the gods beckoning from afar. Throughout the varying landscapes of Greece, the presence of these prophetic sites connected communities in profound and interwoven ways. As travelers approached the oracles, they became part of a long-standing tradition that interlaced faith and reason, belief and skepticism. The initial tension, steeped in different regional practices and interpretations, often culminated in a harmonious quest for answers, a merging of souls yearning for enlightenment and direction. As the mist lingers in the valleys, shrouding the sacred grounds in mystery, one can almost hear the gentle footsteps of pilgrims making their way to these esteemed sites. They journeyed, often with hearts laden with hope, fear, or a deep-seated desire for understanding. Each trek to an oracle spoke of an innate human inclination to seek clarity amid the chaos of existence. Perhaps they sought wisdom regarding love, war, or their personal endeavors, believing that the advice granted by the deities could illuminate their path forward, unravel the complexities of their lives, and beckon them toward the decisions that would ultimately shape their fates. Within this context, we witness the enchanting intersection of the sacred and the everyday, as oracle consultations permeated the very essence of ancient Greek life. Festivals and ceremonies celebrated the paramount role of oracles, imbuing community gatherings with a sense of shared purpose and divine connection. The marketplace bustled with energy, resonating with the dreams and stories of those who had received guidance from the divine. Rituals celebrating the oracles would unite individuals, instilling a sense of belonging that transcended the mundane rhythm of daily existence. Yet it is essential to recognize that the veil guarding the wisdom of these oracles was not without its complexities. Access to prophetic counsel often fell along lines of social stratification, where privilege dictated who could approach the divine and who was left to ponder their fate alone. Wealthy patrons could afford to consult the oracles more frequently, thus shaping the responsibilities of the oracles through public and private initiatives, while the common citizen, though yearning for insights from above, often encountered barriers reliant on circumstance rather than divine insight. Thus, the oracles became a focal point of both reverence and controversy, entwining the threads of society into a rich tapestry where belief and skepticism danced in a delicate balance. Questions arose over authenticity, interpretation, and the charge associated with their wisdom. Still, the allure and power encapsulated in their prophecies held sway over the hearts and minds of those who longed for understanding, fostering a culture that intertwined human experience with the divine. As the sun reaches its zenith, bathing the hills in golden light, one cannot help but feel an ineffable connection to this ancient world, where every stone tells a story and every whisper of the wind carries the weight of prophecy. The spiritual legacy of the oracles beckons, enticing us to delve deeper into their enigmatic natures, promising revelations about not only the lives lived long ago, but also insights that resonate far beyond the annals of history. Through the ages, they remind us of our unquenchable thirst for knowledge, the timeless pursuit of purpose, and the intricate thread linking humanity to the divine realm. Wrapped in the embrace of the mountains and valleys, these ancient sacred sites continue to stir curiosity and reflection, urging us to listen closely to the echoes of the past. The rhythms of nature and the whispers of the winds invite us to step gently into the world of the Greek oracles, a hauntingly beautiful landscape where wisdom, fate, and the human experience interlace, urging us to ponder the secrets that still resonate through the ages. Each breath in this ancient land is a reminder that we, too, walk that parallel path of seeking knowledge, wrestling with the divine mysteries that beckon us from beyond the veil. As we journey further back into the foundations of the oracle tradition, we find ourselves enveloped in the rich tapestry of ancient Greek civilization, a civilization that blossomed in an era marked by profound connections to the natural world and emerging spiritual beliefs. Nestled among the rugged terrain, fertile plains, and sun-drenched hills, the roots of the Greek oracles began to intertwine with the very essence of daily life. Here, a delicate balance between humanity and divinity emerged, fostering a culture that would ultimately give birth to some of the most revered prophetic sites known to history. The geography of Greece played a vital role in shaping the character of its people and their spiritual pursuits. Its landscape, a mosaic of towering mountains, deep valleys, and shimmering coastlines, whispered the secrets of the gods and fostered a connection between the terrestrial and the celestial. Each summit had a story to tell, every stream served as a conduit for divine communication. The ancients believed that the gods dwelled in the heights, their presence palpable in the very air that surrounded them. It was within these varied landscapes that communities began to establish sacred sites, where they could seek the wisdom of the divine that permeated their existence. The Minoan civilization, emerging on the island of Crete around 3000 BCE, bears early testament to the integration of spirituality and daily life. The intricate palaces adorned with frescoes depicting rituals and deities reveal an inherent reverence for the spiritual world. Minoans engaged in deeply symbolic practices, reflecting their belief in a cosmic order maintained by divine forces. The influences of this civilization, rich in culture and thriving in trade, melded into the foundations that would later influence Greek society, heightening their narratives of fate, divination, and the quest for knowledge. Likewise, the Mycenaean culture, which flourished from around 1600 to 1100 BCE on the mainland of Greece, contributed significantly to the sacred traditions that followed. The vibrant frescoes that adorned their palace walls depicted powerful figures, often depicted in religious ceremonies, emphasizing the role of the divine in governance and daily decisions. The Mycenaeans were deeply connected to ancestral worship, and the lineage of their kings was often traced back to the gods, intertwining the realm of humanity with the celestial. It is in this context that we begin to see how the foundation for oracles began to take shape, a burgeoning blend of mythology, ritual, and communal experience. With the fall of the Mycenaean civilization around 1200 BCE, Greece entered a period commonly referred to as the Dark Ages, a time marked by substantial societal transformation and a gradual return to more localized forms of worship. As the population began to re-establish itself, new communities arose from the remnants of the past, embracing the worship of deities that embody the natural landscape. Here, amidst the newly emerging settlements, the seeds of oracle practices were sown, leading to the establishment of sanctuaries where individuals could connect with the divine. Geographical features such as sacred groves, springs, and caves soon became loci for spiritual practices. The natural world was not seen merely as a resource or backdrop for human endeavor. Instead, it was understood as a vibrant presence woven with the divine. This belief gave rise not only to oracles urging counsel from the gods, but also to the rituals and festivals that honored these divine entities. Offerings were made, songs were sung, and sacred dances were performed as expressions of gratitude for the favor bestowed upon the living. One can imagine the gentle sway of incense mingling with the scent of blooming wildflowers as worshippers congregated under panoramic skies, knowing that Zeus, Apollo, and the other deities watched over them from their lofty perch. The sacred sites gained public fervor, evolving into vital gathering points, where interwoven destinies were celebrated and solemnly deliberated over in the presence of divine guidance. The emergence of the Delphic oracle under the aegis of Apollo marked a pivotal chapter in the historical development of Greek oracles. The site at Delphi was chosen not merely for its scenic majesty, it rested upon the principle of a chthonic feature, an opening to the earth where divine energies converged. This made it a focal point for both the spiritual and civic dimensions of life in ancient Greece, where consultation with the Pythia encapsulated the very essence of aspiration and uncertainty. It is worth noting that long before these prophetic utterances took form, the foundations of oracular wisdom lay in traditional storytelling which nourished collective memory. Through layering generations of belief, the narratives surrounding the oracles melded myth with cultural identity, imprinting upon the psyche of the ancient Greeks a profound understanding of fate and consequence. As political landscapes shifted, the role of the oracles grew ever more complex. City-states vying for dominance in a fiercely competitive arena often turned to the oracles for guidance, steering decisions that would resonate through time. This interdependence established the oracles not just as spiritual figures, but as politically savvy institutions, navigating the tides of human ambition and fear. Simultaneously, the accessibility of the oracles started to reflect societal divisions. While nobles and wealthy citizens could frequent their divine advisors, the common populace often found themselves yearning for the very insights that eluded them. This inherent tension served to amplify the mystique surrounding oracle consultations, framing them as sacred rites reserved for the elite, while simultaneously imbuing the wisdom of the oracles with an allure that transcended class. As the practice matured, the oracles began to nuance their interpretations, responding to the queries posed through cryptic formulations and imaginative language that both piqued curiosity and challenged comprehension. Each oracle's words gathered a sense of gravity, as seekers approached not only with questions but with an unquenchable thirst for understanding, accompanied by the ever-present tension between faith and doubt. The philosophical landscape evolved alongside the practice of oracular divination, as thinkers like Socrates and Plato began to probe deeper into existential inquiries, laying the groundwork for rational thought that would emerge in subsequent centuries. Their reflections challenged the simplicity of divine oracular wisdom, sparking discussions that blend human consciousness with the enigmatic threads of fate and desire. This burgeoning philosophical tradition evolved from an initiation rooted deeply in the cultural and geographic landscape, questioning the motives and meanings behind each oracle's counsel. Moreover, the oracular tradition experienced crystallization as divine messages found expression in poetic form, and the practice of divination through dreams and visions was recorded. These poetic verses sometimes served as commentary, enshrining the wisdom therein within literary traditions, while simultaneously offering a hint of skepticism toward the practices that once wielded such influence. In examining this evolution, where the human experience, geographic topology, mindfulness, and divine connection interweave, we find that the ancient Greek oracles emerged not just as places of consultation, but as vibrant institutions shaped by the very fabric of life itself. They were born from landscapes steeped in mythology, nourished by cultural exchanges, and transformed by the secular currents of the time. Each oracle contained not just the weight of prophecy, but the dreams, fears, and aspirations of a society committed to understanding its place in a world governed by the ethereal dance of fate. As we wander further into this ancient narrative, tales of how oracles advised on matters of state, personal dilemmas, and sacred rituals mesh seamlessly into the annals of Greek culture. The sacred sites continue to whisper their stories, echoing through the valleys, summoning the curious ear of those willing to listen amidst the quiet rustling of leaves, a call to deeply reflect upon the entwined destinies of humanity and the divine. With each moment, we inch closer to unveiling the real significance of these prophecies and their capacity to mold individual lives and collective identities throughout the ages, urging us to contemplate the mystical connection that once flowed like a gentle stream through the heart of Greece. In the reverberating heart of ancient Greece, the fabric of daily life was intricately woven with the threads of belief and the rich vibration of divine connection. The oracles, with their enigmatic whispers of prophecy, stood as guides in a world where the boundaries between the mortal and the divine were beautifully blurred. Communities were built around these sacred sites, where temples and sanctuaries provided both physical structure and spiritual sanctuary. Here, the inhabitants of bustling city-states gathered, enveloped by the murmurs of nature and the scent of offerings laid lovingly before the altars. The oracles offered not merely prophecy but a sense of communal purpose, a shared understanding that ebbed and flowed with the changing tides of fortune and fate. As the golden rays of sunrise spilled over the landscape, Illuminating the white marble of temples and the rugged stone of altars, the townsfolk started their day. Children played in the sun-drenched streets, while women busied themselves preparing food, grinding grain, and fashioning meals from the bounty of the land. Men who toiled in fields or crafted fine wares from clay, wood, and metal often shared stories of their own encounters or those of their forebears, with the profound wisdom that emanated from the oracle, stories passed down in hushed tones that danced along with the warm breezes. The divine mysteries manifested in these everyday rituals and routines, as the imbued understanding of fate and destiny shaped interactions within families and across communities. When decisions loomed large, whether to marry, how to cultivate the land, or whether to engage in a new venture, there was always the beckoning of the oracle. For many, consulting an oracle was considered not just a matter of seeking guidance. It was akin to invoking the divine favor, ensuring that every action was aligned with the will of the gods. Those who stood on the cusp of substantial life choices would often undertake a pilgrimage to one of the most esteemed oracles, such as the Oracle of Delphi, nestled among the misty mountains where the Pythia sat imbued with prophetic power. As families prepared for such journeys, the atmosphere became charged with anticipation. Offerings were meticulously prepared, rich frankincense and myrrh were gathered, while treasured animals were raised, sheep, goats, or even a prized bull to appease the gods. The route to the oracle often transformed into a sacred pilgrimage, with groups of supplicants traveling together, sharing tales and drifting into contemplative silence, contemplating the weight of their questions and the possible answers that awaited them at the sacred site. They traversed winding paths carved into rocky hillsides, with their bodies accompanied by the gentle rustle of leaves and the melodious chirping of birds, inhaling the crisp air layered with hints of pine and thyme that brought with it both growth and renewal. Amidst this backdrop of devotion, the rhythms of life continued unfettered. Markets bustled with the scent of spiced olives, ripe figs, and freshly baked bread, where merchants would hawk their wares, weaving tales about the fruits of their labor while lingering laughter echoed around the stalls. Children darted between the adults, their laughter a sweet symphony, creating an atmosphere thick with camaraderie. The vitality of life was a comforting contrast to the uncertainties that often clouded the hearts and minds of the people. Architecture played a fundamental role in delineating the relationship between humanity and the divine, as temples, with their imposing columns and intricate carvings, sought to symbolize both reverence for the gods and the aspirations of the society surrounding them. Within these hallowed halls, light filtered softly through the cracks, illuminating altars lined with offerings, a juxtaposition to the dark corners where mysteries once breathed life. The shimmering pools of water often found within precincts provided a reflective surface for both the anxious inquirer and the priest or priestess, poised to interpret the divine messages conveyed through the smoky haze of incense. When the sun sank low, casting a golden hue across the horizon, the temples became sanctuaries for not just the rituals of seeking guidance but also for community gatherings, where tales of the gods were shared, lessons infused with morality were taught, and the melodies of lyres and flutes filled the air, wrapping each soul in sweet comfort and unity. Festivals dedicated to the gods, which often coincided with the changing seasons, brought together vast numbers, where food was shared, companionship deepened, and the boundless stories of human experiences enveloped the sacred grounds. During these occasions, individuals from every walk of life became believers in the possibility that their fates were intertwined with the divine, where joy and sorrow mirrored each other, manifesting a collective tapestry woven from the threads of experience. Through the myriad interactions of daily life and communal practices, one could feel the unmistakable pulse of belief that surrounded the oracles. Rituals surrounding agriculture became imbued with spirituality, as prayers were offered for bountiful harvests. Births were perhaps accompanied by supplications to favor the newborn with blessings, while at burials, mourners turned to the wisdom of the oracles to seek solace in the unfathomable nature of life and death. Grief and gratitude intersected seamlessly, as even the mundane routines of life held traces of the divine. The role of women in these sacred practices cannot be understated, particularly that of the priestesses, who were entrusted with the interpretation of divine will. Their responsibilities span not only oracle consultations, but also the oversight of rituals that supported the cyclical nature of life and society. These women crafted intricate narratives and played pivotal roles within communities, channeling the divine through their actions and voice. The Pythia at Delphi, perhaps the most renowned oracle of them all, held sway over kings and peasants alike, her utterances dripping with the nectar of divine inspiration. Through her, the will of Apollo was vocalized, guiding monumental decisions that shaped the path of city-states and mingled with the aspirations of ordinary souls who hungered for clarity. Yet even as the hum of life pulsed energetically around the oracles, the potent undercurrent of tension simmered quietly beneath. The question of who had access to the oracle, who could interpret the signs, and how the power was wielded sowed discord among citizens. The elite wielded their influence over the divine council, often skewing interpretation to suit various political whims, while the marginalized stood by, yearning for their voices to be heard alongside the grand proclamations of kings and nobles. This inherent division bore witness to the societal cries for equity that echoed in the shadows of the resplendent temples. The juxtaposition of fervent belief and the larger socio-political fabric of society defined the essence of the oracle experience. As seekers traversed the paths that wound among the sacred landscape, the influence of oracles bore implications both personal and collective, emblematic of human desire to decipher the narratives that shape destinies. Thus, intertwined within the oracular tradition was a profound understanding that life, in its myriad instances, is as much a reflection of divine orchestration as it is of human free will. Ancient Greeks forged connection through their belief in oracles, bridging the distance between their aspirations and the heavens above, standing resolutely in the understanding that every outcome and every decision came with weights of significance, an articulation of hopes, fears, and the ceaseless quest for meaning. In this contemplative milieu, the fabric of life flowed softly, echoing the gentle guidance of oracles as they beckoned souls eager to unveil the quiet mysteries of existence itself, lingering like the softest whispers carried on the wind, a reminder of a sacred legacy that continues to resonate through the ages. As one gazes into the annals of history, the ancient oracles of Greece stand out as remarkable institutions embodying both the sacred and the profound complexities of human society. The very fabric of their existence interwove threads of divine communication and human ambition, shaping destinies not just on individual levels, but also in the broader tapestry of Greek civilization. In exploring the major historical developments, we encounter a rich panorama of individuals, political machinations, conflicts, and shifts in societal norms which together paint a detailed picture of how oracles evolved within the Greek consciousness. While the oracles, particularly Delphi, represented divine pathways, they were also closely tied to the socio-political dynamics of their time. Throughout the height of Greek civilization, the city-states, like Athens, Sparta, and Corinth, were in a delicate balance where alliances and rivalries swayed with the interpretations of oracle prophecies. The oracles often found themselves at the center of power struggles, providing guidance that could scintillate a political leader to action or cause apprehension that led to inertia. Kings and generals would seek advice from oracles before embarking on significant military campaigns, with the hope that the divine whispers could grant them success and legitimacy in the eyes of their people. The Peloponnesian War, a monumental conflict that arose between Athens and Sparta, serves as an exemplar of this intertwining of fate and politics. Both sides sought counsel from the oracles, hoping for foresight that could grant them an advantage in their strife. The Oracle of Delphi, under the auspices of the priestess Pythia, delivered cryptic messages that often required interpretation, adding layers of complexity to the already fraught political environment. These pronouncements ranged from prophecies of victory to warnings of devastation, messages which leaders would reinterpret according to their biases and ambitions, sometimes leading to disastrous consequences. In this backdrop of uncertainty, the profession of the oracle expanded, with priests and priestesses becoming instrumental figures in not only religious life, but in the politics of city-states. The priestess at Delphi, for instance, became a figure of immense authority, consulted not just by the common folk, but by statesmen and military leaders alike. This amalgamation of spirituality and governance established a powerful dynamic, where the maintenance of a favorable oracle relationship often translated into enhanced political legitimacy. As the oracles flourished, so too did the stakes involved in their interpretations, which meant that the lives of thousands could be altered based on the cryptic nature of a prophecy. Yet amidst this sacred space, the clash of ideologies began to surface, particularly with the emergence of philosophical schools in the late 5th century BCE. Thinkers such as Socrates and later Aristotle challenged the previously unquestioned authority of the oracles, arguing for the supremacy of rational thought and empirical evidence. This philosophical intrusion was a slow but profound transformation, sowing seeds of skepticism in a society built upon divine oracle guidance. Individuals began to wonder whether their fates were truly predestined, or if they could craft their own destinies through reasoned decision-making. The conflict extended into the social fabric as various groups grappled with the shifting landscape. The rise of democratic ideals in Athens allowed citizens to question long-held beliefs. The deliberative process became paramount, where dialogue and debate took precedence over blind faith in oracular predictions. As political assemblies flourished, the emphasis shifted towards the voices of the populace, thus diluting the once reserved power of the oracles. This transformative period, characterized by burgeoning democracy and philosophical inquiry, began to redefine what it meant to seek guidance. With time, the societal backdrop continued to evolve, not just through philosophy, but also through monumental historical events. In the hands of younger generations, the victorious march of Alexander the Great blurred the boundaries of the known world, and with it, the oracles adjusted their functions and significance. As he carved out an empire, Alexander's consultations with the oracle at Delphi, along with others along his conquests, were fueled by a fervent belief that divine favor accompanied his endeavors. His successes further worshipped oracular confidence among the populace, yet for others, the expansion of empire also meant the encroachment of new ideas, cultures and practices that threatened the established way of life rooted in these ancient prophetic traditions. However, the greatest turning point arrived with the sweeping changes brought by the spread of Christianity in the 4th century AD. The rise of monotheistic belief systems marked a profound shift in the religious landscape, where once celebrated pagan practices fell out of favor, and the divine favor sought through oracle consultation began to dwindle. Christianity's foundational rejection of polytheism contrasted sharply against the deeply interwoven tapestry of gods and divine guidance that were once so integral to Greek existence. As the early church gained momentum, the oracles were cast into shadows, and their revered sanctuaries like Delphi and Dodona saw fewer pilgrims, their sites becoming relics of a past society steeped in multiple beliefs. Yet the legacy of the oracles lingered in the collective memory and culture of the people. As pagan practices receded, the remnants of oracle influence transformed into mystical systems that sought solace in the unknown. In seeking new ways to navigate life's uncertainties, concepts seeded by oracular guidance reappeared in philosophical discourse, laying down paths for mystical experiences and new approaches to contemplative thought. Throughout these transformative ages, we see how the oracles, as harbingers of divine wisdom, morphed under the pressure of societal change, forced to adapt or recede. The rise of rational thought and the spread of new religious ideologies challenged their roles, yet they left an indelible mark on the conscience of civilization. As urban centers developed and populations grew, the bustling streets maintained whispers of prophetic meanings and divine discourse, even in a world that sought answers through the lens of reason and faith. The exquisite duality presented in the history of the oracles reveals how belief, politics, and the quest for understanding inform the vast narrative that is the human experience. Throughout the ages, the interplay of human agency and divine connection has laid bare the intricate tapestry of existence that continues to invite curiosity and introspection, providing a framework through which people sought not only guidance, but also a larger meaning in their lives. As we reflect upon this journey through time, we sense the quiet transformations that underscore the legacy of the oracles, a legacy that dances between the whispers of the past and the stirring echoes of what it means to seek answers to life's profound questions, as humanity reaches ever onward toward understanding its place within the grand design. As the echoes of the past reverberate through time, one can observe how the ancient oracles of Greece not only shaped the destinies of individuals, but also played a pivotal role in the evolution of societal structures and values. Their presence endured across the ages, adapting in response to the shifting currents of thought and belief, a testament to the fascinating interplay between tradition and transformation. The journey of these divine institutions is not merely a record of decline and fall, rather it is a continuous narrative of change and survival, where myth inspires and knowledge reshapes the understanding of fate and guidance. In the 4th century AD, as the winds of change swept through the ancient world, the increasing dominance of Christianity heralded a new chapter that highlighted a divide within the collective consciousness of humanity. With the rise of monotheistic thought came an overarching rejection of the polytheistic practices that had governed life for centuries. This transition was not merely religious, it represented a profound shift in how people related to the divine, how they perceived their destinies, and how they sought guidance in tumultuous times. In this emergent landscape, the once celebrated oracles found their role increasingly challenged. As the sacred spaces of Delphi and Dodona fell silent, their sites transformed into poignant reminders of a bygone era. Amidst these alterations, one must consider the atmospheric landscape of daily life. As pilgrims once flocked to sacred altars with hearts open to divine counsel, many found themselves adrift in a sea of uncertainty. The once frequented temples, now quiet and secluded, echoed with only the whispers of the past. Yet it is in these very spaces that the enduring legacy of the oracles lay dormant, ready to awaken anew when the soul sought understanding beyond the confines of dogma. Through the lens of history, we perceive how the collective yearning for knowledge and connection with the divine did not dissipate entirely, but rather transformed, seeking new forms, new languages, and new symbols of guidance. Even in the shadow of decline, there existed a subtle resurgence of mystical practices, a testament to humanity's unyielding quest for meaning. The principles that once flourished within the sacred walls of the oracles re-emerged, albeit veiled in the mysticism of folk traditions and reinterpreted through the prism of new beliefs. As Christianity spread, so too did the old gods and their wisdom become integrated into the collective memory, evolving into allegorical tales, folkloric wisdom, and mysticism that communities continued to cherish. The human experience, after all, is not easily stripped of its longing for connection to the earth, to the cosmos, and to each other. Throughout history, the essence of the oracles imparted an enduring sense of wonder and introspection that echoed far beyond their official recognition. As centuries passed, the ruins that once reverberated with prophetic truths became part of the landscape, imbued not only with history but also with a sense of remembrance. Travelers and seekers ventured to these timeless sites, hoping to glean wisdom from the stones and serenity from the whispers carried on the winds. The oracles, while reverberating their final prophecies, simultaneously prepared the ground for new movements that flourished like wildflowers in the cracks of the ancient pedestals. This metaphoric resilience encapsulated the spirit of humanity's evolving relationship with the unknown. With the Renaissance came yet another stirring of interest in the ancient oracular traditions, as scholars and thinkers turned to the wisdom of classical antiquity. A revival beckoned, where the people sought to reconnect with the insights of old, elevating philosophies and methodologies that once flourished under the watchful eyes of Pythia and her counterparts. It was during this period that the writings of Plato and Aristotle, along with others from the Hellenistic phase, experienced renewed scrutiny, as questions of destiny and free will once again captured the imagination of the learned. The intellectual climate became ripe for examination, with figures such as Nostradamus applying the oracular philosophy to divinatory practices that sought insight into the future. Thus, through centuries of evolution, the legacies instilled by the Greek oracles laid the foundation for mystical traditions that permeated Western esotericism. The symbolism of oracular wisdom infiltrated literature, art, and philosophy, echoing the quest for divination in a world that oscillated between reason and belief. The legendary Council of Oracles, though transformed, remained a vital thread in the ever-weaving tapestry of human understanding, which intertwined prophecy and introspection together in an intricate dance, a dance which resonates into the very fabric of modern spiritual exploration. In the modern era, the contours of how individuals seek answers to life's mysteries often trace back to an innate desire for connection to something greater than themselves. Contemporary spiritual practices, whether expressed through meditation, tarot readings, or other forms of divination, echo the age-old thirst for guidance that once flowed freely in the sacred precincts of the oracles. The messages of the ancients have found new expressions, where intuition is celebrated and mystical experiences transcending empirical dimensions are embraced with open hearts. Even amidst a landscape dominated by rational thought, the whispers of the oracles persist, offering solace and reminders of the profound human yearning to understand the interplay between the divine and the earthly. Thus, as we stand on the cusp of understanding the enduring legacy of the Greek oracles, those enigmatic voices of the past, we can recognize how their essence weaves through history and shapes contemporary experiences, illuminating pathways of knowledge and belief that invite reflection and introspection. Every cultural movement and intellectual shift creates layers on the tapestry of human experience. Even as some traditions fade, others find new life, revealing that the quest for understanding and enlightenment never truly ends. It evolves, adapts, and finds ways to speak to the hearts of those willing to listen. The story of the oracles invites us to reflect not only on the decisions made under their watchful gaze, but also on the reflections of humanity's timeless journey, where adventure meets introspection and fate intertwines with free will. The lessons imparted by these ancient institutions remind us that life is a continuous search for meaning, perched between the wisdom of our ancestors and the choices we make in the present. As we look upon our own pathways, we cannot help but wonder, what whispers remain for us to discover, borne on the winds of time, eager to guide our footsteps into the uncharted realms of tomorrow? As we venture further into the lingering shadows of the ancient Greek oracles, we uncover layers of meaning that extend beyond their physical ruins, resonating with a kind of wisdom that clings to the very essence of the human experience. The silence that now envelops these once vibrant sacred spaces carries with it the echoes of countless voices seeking answers, insights, and clarity in a world fraught with uncertainty. In this contemplative space, it becomes evident that despite their decline, the oracles imparted lessons that continue to shape our collective memory, embedded in the very fabric of our existence. The abandoned temples of Delphi and Dodona might now stand as solemn reminders of a world steeped in divination, yet their remnants tell a story of resilience that transcends mere physical decay. These sites, where pilgrims once sought guidance from the divine through the Delphic priestess, or listened intently to the rustle of leaves in the sacred oak at Dodona, speak of humanity's unyielding desire to connect with the unknown. The quiet interplay between silence and memory invites contemplation. What enduring truths remain concealed in the cracks of stone where once the sacred met the mundane? In traversing through the ages, we observe how the principles that the oracles championed, those interwoven threads of connection between humanity and the cosmos, have never entirely vanished. Instead, they have morphed, adapting to a new context while retaining their fundamental essence. The migration of their wisdom into allegory and folklore reflects the innate human impulse to seek understanding beyond the realm of empirical evidence. As the lessons of the oracles intertwined themselves with religious narratives, their stories became reframed within new traditions, cultivating a sense of continuity in the human quest for meaning that persists even today. The gradual transition from polytheistic beliefs to Christianity did not extinguish the yearning for guidance, rather it prompted a metamorphosis. This longing persisted as new layers were added to the cultural psyche, much like the gradual accumulation of sedimentary rock. Simultaneously, folk practices that echoed oracular traditions began to surface, rebirthed within the ethos of various communities and closely tied to the rhythms of nature. It was through these oral transmissions and folk tales that the essence of oracular wisdom lived on, albeit in forms that often transcended literal interpretation. In considering the long arc of history, we find that the legacies of the Greek oracles shaped not only the immediate cultural landscape of ancient Greece, but left an indelible mark on the very tenets of Western thought and spirituality. Philosophers during the Renaissance looked upon these ancient texts and practices as beacons of wisdom, rekindling interest in the balance of the rational and the mystical. They recognized an intricate dance between logic and intuition that characterized the human condition, acknowledging the duality that dwells within every individual. This revival laid the groundwork for a contemporary understanding of divination and self-reflection, aligning with the oracle's roles as intermediaries between the earthly and the divine. Today, the influence of the oracles weaves its way through literature, art, and modern spiritual practices, bearing testimony to the timeless search for guidance. Practices such as tarot reading and astrology echo the traditions birthed within the hallowed halls of Delphi, reflecting humanity's age-old quest to peer into the depths of uncertainty and fathom the currents of fate. People find solace in these rituals, echoing the ancients who sought understanding through the musings of the divine. In those moments, the once vibrant oracular traditions resonate again, albeit in ways that may not bear direct resemblance to their original forms, yet carry the same pulse of human aspiration. As we journey through the silent ruins of the ancient world, a delicate tapestry emerges, revealing that despite the passage of time, the essence of the oracles lives on within each individual who seeks answers in the face of the inexplicable. Visions of the ethereal blend with the tangible, creating a space for reflection that often leads to profound insights. It seems that the purpose imbued within those sacred words continues to resonate, coaxing humankind to engage with its instinctive drive to explore the unknown, to search for meaning in the fickle dance of existence, and to embrace the mysteries that lie ahead. The stories of the Greek oracles serve as reminders that life itself often unfolds in layers, a complex interplay of chance and choice, fate and intentionality. Through the centuries of their existence, they acted as mirrors reflecting our deepest fears and highest aspirations. When we extend our gaze beyond mere historical analysis, we can discern how the narratives surrounding the oracles shape contemporary discussions about spirituality and the myriad ways we seek guidance. We find ourselves standing on the precipice of understanding, poised to explore how our own experiences connect with the grand narratives that have informed human existence since time immemorial. Ultimately, it is within the quiet spaces of life, those moments filled with reflection and introspection, that we resonate most deeply with the wisdom accrued through generations. Just as the winds softly whisper through the ruins, the insights of the oracles extend into the present, inviting us to engage in a dance as old as time itself. As we seek knowledge and navigate our paths, we are reminded of the importance of remaining open to that which defies rationality, to remain attuned to the signals of the universe that guide us gently yet persistently. Indeed, the legacy of the oracles encourages a conscious engagement with our own intuition, urging us to pause in the chaos of modern life to listen, to reflect, and to seek understanding from the unseen dimensions of existence. Awash in the gentle embrace of contemplation, let us honor the enigmatic voices of the past while remaining receptive to the whispers of guidance that shape our journeys into an uncertain future. In doing so, we forge a link between the ancients and ourselves, finding in their teachings a wellspring of solace, inspiration, and the quiet reminder that the quest for meaning is a timeless endeavor, ever unfolding on the canvas of human experience.